Greetings to our kings, queens, and everyone in between. Welcome to Melanin Muses.
Mindful knowledge, healing heart. We are your muses.
Cleo.
And Calliope, but you can call me Callie. We're here to give you a safe space to open your mind.
And to heal your heart while adding a dash of melanin flavor.
Disclaimer. We are not legal, mental, or health professionals. Although we're actively researching the topics we discuss and fact-checking our resources, please note that we are only giving our opinions and not professional advisory.
If you wish to get professional advice, please seek out the help of a certified professional or therapist. Let us begin. Hello, everyone. I wish you can see Callie's face right now. It's so funny because just a random side note, whenever we hit record now, before it was just silent and it was awesome. And now all of a sudden when she hits record, it's like, now recording. And then it's this loud voice. It's so funny.
I hate it. I hate it so much because why? Nobody asked you, just record.
But why not though?
Wow, just so much extra. Anywho, hi everybody. You know me. I'm Callie, and we're here with Cleo. And today, we are going to learn a little bit more about our favorite muse. So, to begin, I would like to know a little bit about you. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar, Melanin Muses is Cleo's brainchild. She is the one who brought this little bit of inspiration to everyone and asked me to join and help bring this to life. But I want to know a little bit more about our creator. So, Cleo, let's get to know you a little bit more today. Tell us, what was your inspiration for Melanin Muses?
Well, thank you for the introduction. Oh, I'm turning red. Well, hi again. Yeah, it's me, Cleo. Let's just say my mind tends to go a million places a minute, and I have so many random creative ideas. I'm like, let's do this, let's do that. Oh my God, a podcast. So that's kind of how Melanin Muses came about. It was just like, I'm in a stage of my life where I know I'm a creator, I'm an artist. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, these types of things. It's taken me a long time to like heal myself enough internally to actually have the confidence to chase my artistic desires and what I need to share and get out due to things that have happened that I've just been too scared to do it. But since I'm starting to explore more with like different creative endeavors, I was just like, actually a really good friend of mine, Elise, she started her own podcast and it's freaking amazing called Coffee and Coils on YouTube. So go check that out. I'm giving her a shout out. Hey, Elise, I see you. But she actually started one and it's absolutely amazing. She provides lots of great information. She's actually co-hosting that as well with a friend of hers. And that's actually what inspired me to be like, yo, like I would love to do a podcast just to talk. And I thought about it and I'm just like, oh my God. But yeah, so yeah, my friend, she started her podcast and that really inspired me. I was like, yo, I like to talk. I like to analyze things. So that might be fun to have a podcast. Who can I do it with? And I was like, oh, Callie, she's smart. She's amazing. We can talk about things. This would be awesome. And that's essentially, and especially because like Callie and I haven't really talked a lot over like the past couple of years because life, you know, and I've always admired her. I've always been motivated by her strength and her energy. And honestly, I've told her this before, but I was afraid of her at one point because not that she's a scary person, but just at the time when we first met, I was just in a very low place of like self-confidence and low place of self-love. So like I really admired her strength and energy, but I just didn't feel worthy enough or strong enough to be able to be a friend to her, you know. But as time went on, I was like, you know what, I'm doing self-work, I'm doing self-healing, I want to be her friend now. because I can do it. And she's amazing and I want to be her friend. So yeah, it's randomly how things progressed. And I pitched the idea essentially like, hey, do you want to do a podcast together? He's like, sure. I'm like, yes. So I love that not only are we both women of color, we're both like intellectual, we're both nerdy, we're both fucking amazing, but it's like this is also a bonding experience between her and I love this because it's making like it's increasing our friendship with one another. We're learning about each other as each episode goes on. So and I also feel that we have a lot of things that we can contribute and a lot of advice and tips and tricks and opinions that we can share with others as well. So that way, hopefully, we can provide some happiness, some laughter, some healing, and entertainment to those who listen to our podcast. So that's pretty much what kind of fueled this. It's just like a random spontaneous idea. Like I thought about it in the past, but I was like, whatever, passing, fleeting. And then my friend did it. And I was like, yo, she's bomb at this. And that seems cool. I want to do it too. And yeah, here we are.
So, if you haven't noticed by now, Cleo likes to be very modest. Um, so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to toot her horn a little bit because it needs to happen. So, Cleo has been living in Korea for the last 3 years, which I think is pretty phenomenal, meaning she uprooted and moved to an entirely different country clear across the world to pioneer in a land both foreign and amazing. She's learning an entirely different language and she's thriving. So, what I want is to hear a little bit more about your experience in Korea.
Tooting my horn.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Toot, toot.
love you so much. So essentially, yeah, I've up and moved to Korea. This is actually my second time here. My first time was in college and I was here for about 4 months. And my first experience wasn't the best, quite honestly. So I always had it in my gut that like I need to go back to just relive my experience and just have a better time, because first time a lot of health issues and other stuff happened. So I'm like, I need to go back. And then 6 years later, here I am. I came back in 2018 and I've been here ever since. But yeah, times in Korea have definitely been very eye-opening, very mind-opening, and heart-opening at the same time. Like I feel like I'm a completely different person than I was when I first came here 3 years ago. And I look back and I have cringy moments like, oh, yeah, this was the right decision. And I can definitely say that to anyone listening, take a chance. And if you have not lived abroad or in a different culture before, definitely do it, because it brings out parts of you that you never would have thought you would have seen. And you have to face it, your own biases, your own closed mindedness. It really forces you to take a good look at yourself. And I'm not saying go to a country like that speaks the same language as you, because they're beautiful as well, like go and visit, etc. But immerse yourself in the culture completely opposite, where you don't speak the damn language, because that will really force you to grow and change, and just it just really changes you for the better if you allow it to change yourself for the better instead of wallowing in it. I wallowed for a while, but then I was like, nah, fam, this is not where it's supposed to be. But no, yeah, Korea has definitely opened my eyes. It's actually helped me identify my identity as a Black woman as well, surprisingly, because it's basically I've become a spokesperson now, because 9 times out of 10 people have never seen a Black person in person, so it's like, oh my god, your hair, like I'm an English teacher to kids, elementary kids, so I had my hair natural the other day and they're just like, teacher, wig. I'm like, no fam, natural hair, just add water, I'm a chia pet. That's essentially, or like if I had faux locks, for those of you who don't know what faux locks is, it's just like fake locks like crocheted into my hair. Go Google it, YouTube. And my kids would call it jajangmyeon hair or ramen hair, like noodle hair, because of the way it looked to them. It's completely foreign. And it's just interesting being like, like in America, like there's so many different kinds of people. Like, yeah, you'll notice someone's a different ethnicity, but you don't really think much about it. At least the average
Mhm.
person, I guess, doesn't think much about it. Um, but when you come to Korea, it's a homogeneous country. So
Mhm.
there's just nothing but Korean people here. And then being someone who's obviously different, you just get stared. You just get stared at. And at first, it can make you feel self conscious. But after a certain point, I've just gotten so immune to it that now I find it funny because my coworker, he speaks no English, but hi and bye, and it's great. And we still get along. I torture him every day. It's great. The other day he was just laughing at me. He's like, I saw you at the bus stop yesterday and you were dancing. I'm like, yeah, so what? People stare, I might as well give them a show,
There
you
you go.
know? So Korea has really taught me a lot about just being myself regardless of how people see you. It's taught me how to be self-sufficient, especially with someone with health conditions and food allergies. A lot of my food allergies are main ingredients of cuisine here in Korea, so I really had to learn how to adapt and maneuver and survive and like navigating in this country where Korean's not my native language, but I'm learning and I'm wanting to communicate with people. So I have no choice but to learn. So I can read
Mhm.
Korean now. I'm starting to study Japanese, so I can read that a little bit now. So it's just like, it's definitely been quite an adventure and I'm so grateful for it. Even though there's been a lot of hard times, hard experiences that I've been through, I feel that they have prepared me and actually opened my eyes to things I was closed to before. It's taught me life lessons that I didn't get taught growing up. I didn't get taught by family. I didn't get taught by parents. And I've had to learn them the hard way by experiencing them here. And I'm super, super grateful for that. So yeah, beautiful country. I would definitely recommend anyone to visit if they want to check it out when COVID is dealt with.
Mhm.
Um, Lots of beautiful temples, beautiful nature. There's a mountain outside my freaking apartment, so I can look outside and see nature. It's absolutely gorgeous. So many pretty nature things in comparison to Philadelphia. Like Philly's just buildings, and then Korea, I was like culture shock. Oh my God, there's trees. Like there's is that a mountain outside my window? That has to be fake. That can't be a real mountain. And it was just so strange. But yeah, Korea is definitely been a learning experiences. Every place has pros and cons. It's just I've learned a lot from being here and I really appreciate it. I'm probably going to be here for a little bit longer, especially because of COVID. But totally recommend it. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
It does, yes. And it's funny, little known fact, everyone. Um, Leo and I have been working very hard when it comes to recording our episodes by dealing with the time difference. Like, it's something that has been one of our biggest challenges, which is scheduling time so that we can meet, so that we can actually get these episodes out to you. But when I tell you that Cleo's a miracle worker, she has been working nonstop, not only to make sure that our episodes are edited, that our episodes have amazing cover art to accompany the titles and the themes that we produce for you. She has been monitoring social media presences. She has been uploading everything on time every Monday and Wednesday so that you guys have amazing episodes to listen to and you can hear more of us despite the time difference. So I just wanted to give that shout out because when I tell you I am not good with time, I'm doing graduate school work online and I'm on Eastern time, but most of our assignments are due in Central time. Messes me up every time. I can't tell you how many things I've turned in late because I'm thrown off completely. So I want to give huge kudos to Cleo for all of the hard work that she puts into making sure that Melanin Muses has episodes produced expertly, professionally, and in a timely manner because that's what we do.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, I'm blushing. It's so awkward receiving compliments. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I do all of that, don't I?
Yeah, yes,
Um,
you do.
I think it's just because from my perspective, it's like this is actually fun work for me. Like I don't really see it as work. It's actually very. I feel like this is something that it's supposed to happen. This was meant to happen. It's just the timing was finally right. Like I don't really see it as work. It's fun. Like even the cover art drawings. Like I am working on developing my talents as an artist as well. So this actually gives me an excuse and more of a reason to draw. Uh and learning how to do the video editing and the other types of editing. So if y'all see or hear some things that are kind of strange, I'm working on it. I'm teaching myself how to do all of this, and we're learning as we go. Okay, stay in school or just keep learning. Keep learning. And that's another thing. If things are a mistake and wonky, you know what? Like at the end of the day, we're not perfect. We're learning as we go. And I'm kind of like at my first instinct, because I heard that there were some kind of like repeating issues in another former episode. My immediate instinct was like, oh my God, I gotta like take that down and redo it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm learning. And this just shows like just keep practicing, and the better you'll get with each episode. And like don't you shouldn't have to hide your imperfections, like that's just a reminder that like you will not be perfect when you first start doing something. Things don't have to be extraordinarily perfect. If something is flawed, sometimes it's actually a lot more beautiful and more authentic that way. So I hope that, because that's used to be like that's another reason why I didn't start a lot of projects or continue with a lot of projects before. And that's another reason why I stopped doing art for a while as well, because I wanted to be perfect the first time I did it, because I felt that external pressure of you have to be good at this. If you're not good at it, then it's not worth starting. But I love this quote. I forget who said it because I heard it in different renditions. It's like, even the masters were a beginner at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to just keep trying. You just got to keep practicing and just keep enjoying the process, because if you don't enjoy the process, what's the point? And doing this podcast is a really fun process for me, because like it's creative, it's fun, we get to talk, we get to laugh, we get to share this with other people. Hopefully we can give them laughs as well, with our you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I'm hoping this can inspire other people to like, hey, if you're thinking about starting a podcast, just freaking do it. Just see what happens. You can draw a stick figure. You don't got to be extra like me and trying to design all this crap. Just do it. Like, have fun. If you want to have another project, just start it. If it doesn't turn out right the first time, then you just do it again and you learn from your first mistake. So yeah. And yeah, time zones can be a bish. They really can. Trust and believe. Like, I understand. I'm like, I'm in the future. She's in the past, because literally I'm ahead 13 hours ahead.
Yeah.
So it's still right now as we're recording. It's Thursday night Friday night. It's Friday night for you. Saturday morning for me. So it's just like, hey, there's birds chirping, the sun is bright for me, and then it's just like night.
I'm in a dark room with my halo light so I can see everything. It's just like a complete contrast. And we're time travelers. I'm convinced. We're just time travelers. And we're bringing you amazing content from the future and the past. So please enjoy it in the present, because it's worked very hard to get here. Okay? Very hard.
Exactly.
Oh, so Cleo, speaking of creative pursuits, please tell me a little bit more about these amazing art ventures that you've been on, because I've been watching you since you got your digital tablet. Digital tablet, pardon me. I've been seeing you post a lot of your art on social media, and I've watched it evolve from these very simplistic, chibi cartoon characters to more advanced and more detailed and 3D oriented characters that have become our amazing episode art. So please share with us your process.
My process. So I only recently got into digital art. I've been meaning to actually for the past couple of years, I've been meaning to jump into digital art. Like I have a couple old tablets, but I just never felt comfortable with them, because they're the type where you have to draw with one hand and just stare at the screen with the other, and it's just so awkward for me. And I was like, oh, this is weird. So recently, I think a couple months ago, I actually jumped in and spent the money, which is a student loan payment, to get this tablet where you can actually draw on the screen, the Wacom one. Shout out. And it's actually, I am in love with it, because I prefer like the traditional paper pencil method where I'm able to see the drawing and go into it. So that tablet where you can just draw on the screen and you don't got to stare at the computer, it was actually a perfect fit. And I used to be terrified of jumping into digital art because it was just such a foreign medium, and that whole I want to be good now type mentality was stuck as like that pressure. It's like, oh, my art looks like crap. It's like a stick figure. I don't know how to do it. And I just pushed it off. I didn't draw for a long time because I just kept getting frustrated of, oh, what if I went to art school like when I was younger? Or what if I did this? I could be so much better if I actually stuck with it. And it was just so much like the imposter syndrome was
Mhm.
really taking a hold of my creativity. It's like I couldn't write my stories anymore. When I was little, I have notebooks full of stories. And it's funny because even here in Korea, I wound up bringing my old novel with me. I wrote like 50, 60 pages. And I was just like, oh, I can't even write anymore. And I read old stuff now. I'm just like, I wrote that. Ooh, and I look back at old art. I was like, oh, I did that. Ooh. And it was trying to talk myself out of the imposter syndrome. And I finally took the leap. I spent the money, and it felt so natural. And I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Um, and then I just start trying to like talk myself like in the previous episode or a different episode that we talked about, we were talking about the psychology of like learning about yourself and understanding your mentality and things like that, and triggers and other stuff. So I had to really do a lot of self work to even be able to pick up a pencil again. Like once in a while, like I would have the itch. Literally, I would get an itch in my I'm a
Mhm.
lefty. I would get an itch in my hand of like twitching, like I need to draw something. And it's really weird, but I would. And then I would doodle something and I would satisfy it for a while. And then it would get the itch again. And I was like, ah, man. But I always get excited about animation and like Miyazaki's work is beautiful. Hayao Miyazaki. I
Oh,
love his work. Oh my God, it's so
lovely.
amazing. It's so inspirational, as well as like who was another artist that I love, like the newer Fruits Basket animation that's absolutely gorgeous. I love watching animated features. You can ask anyone who knows me. I will be the only one, like when Lion King, wait, no, 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 not that one. There was Iron Giant. The Iron
Mhm.
Giant
Oh my
randomly came to
gosh.
Korea. Girl, let me tell you, it randomly came to Korea. I think sometime last year. I was looking up random movies, and it said Iron Giant. I was like, they're bringing the Iron Giant to Korea. Oh, I'm dumb. I was the girl. Tell me how I was the only, not only the only foreigner, which is no surprise. I was the only kind of adult by my damn self in that theater, sitting there with my popcorn, eating my popcorn, watching Iron Giant, and crying.
Mhm.
It's so beautiful because I love the concept of bringing life to 2D characters. You give them life, you give them personality, you give them like they evoke emotion
Mhm.
from the viewer. And I just love that aspect of it. Like even like from Disney and Pixar, I swear the first 10 minutes of Up is like the best love story
We're
ever.
not gonna talk about that. We're not gonna talk about that right now,
I
okay?
know. It
We're
was
not
just
gonna
so beautiful. And the idea of being able to do that, like I've always wanted to do that. I've just been so afraid. I'm like, do I have the capacity to do it? And I know like even now I still have a lot of self-work to do to allow myself to embed these emotions and life into my characters, because a lot of y'all might not know, when you create art, you're putting yourself and becoming a very vulnerable person creating these characters. Like no matter what you do, you're going to input some of yourself. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be open to breathe authentic life into these creatures. And even just drawing them in believable and realistic poses was terrifying for me. It still is a little bit, because then when you see them come to life and have personality, it's scary. I'm
Mhm.
not sure if there's other artists who experience this as well, but for me, it's just terrifying. But I'm slowly learning to be more open to that and to breathe life into my characters, be willing to enjoy that process of like, okay, it's not right the first time, or this arm looks funky. That's perfectly fine. And just learning how to always be growing, always be learning, always be like watching videos and trying to improve your craft, because art is a never ending process of learning. And until you start learning how to love to learn, it can be a very difficult process, because I used to be very closed off to like learning new things because I was afraid of sucking at it. But once I started to begin um being curious and wanting to learn more and listening to other podcasts and watching how-to videos on YouTube or Udemy or Skillshare classes, I slowly started getting better because I was open to practicing and learning more things and new techniques. So that's pretty much what it is. It's just getting over my own imposter syndrome and my fear of actually being good and fear of seeing my characters actually take life is when I started to actually improve in my art. It's art is a reflection of who you are as a person. It's a reflection of your mental state. It's a reflection of your heart. So if you pay attention closely to different artists and their pieces, you can see their different mental states. You can see how they're feeling. You can see their story. So that's how I'm learning to direct my art. And I want to utilize that, at least a traditional way, to hopefully connect with people, the viewers, and inspire them themselves, whether it's an emotional, motivational art or just in general. Oh, this character's cool. I want to be like them, or more representing more people of color as well in animation or illustrations and stuff like that. So that's where the traditional art, digital art, creative endeavor situation comes from, if that answers your question.
So I wish you guys could see Cleo right now. She's absolutely glowing. And she looks so stinking cute when she talks about the things she cares about. And I love it so much. So I kind of don't want this episode to end just so I can keep watching her. But unfortunately, I understand that we have short attention spans. So
Yes.
I'm going to conclude this episode of Melanin Muses by asking you, Cleo, is there anything you'd like to share with the rest of us? A little parting message, if you will.
You are killing me. Well, yeah. So concluding messages, like, to those who are feeling in a creative rut or just struggling with imposter syndrome, and you're also a creative or an artist, I would say take some time to self-reflect, do some journaling, take a walk in nature, maybe listen to some lo-fi beats, because that's something I've recently got into lately. It's just listening to lo-fi and just being immersed and just chilling, and lower the screen stimulation, because that can also block you as well. Take a sketchbook or something and go out and just relax and allow yourself to kind of feel, allow yourself to put those emotions on paper, even if they might be difficult. Direct that into a constructive way, and that can try to help you unlock. And even if you're struggling with trying to draw at all, even if you do a stick figure, do something little every day. Like, that's something that I'm trying to do, whether it's like a doodle or if it's writing or just something creative, even if it's not the specific medium you want to do, but just do something, at least tiny creative thing every day, to try and get your mind back into that. But just know that you have a voice that deserves to be heard, in whatever medium that you're doing. And it's a very valid voice. It's a voice that people want to hear. So please don't allow that fear to suppress that and to hinder that, or hinder you from sharing with the world that, like, the important messages that what you want to share, so I'm rooting for you, and I hope to see your stuff, and make sure to leave us comments or reviews, so hopefully we can check out your stuff and give you shout outs as well, because we artists like to support each other. So yeah, that's that's what I gotta say.
Well, thank you all for tuning in for Melanin Muses in this episode. I'm Callie.
And I'm Cleo. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Cleo here, and thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Melanin Muses Podcast. I'm here today to share with you our quote of the week. Our quote is, "Creativity is allowing yourself to make mistakes. Art is knowing which ones to keep," by Scott Adams. Now, I believe this quote pertains to not only those in the art world like myself, but it can be used for anyone, actually, because it seems to me that many of us are afraid of failing. We're afraid of mistakes. And as a result, we end up preventing ourselves from starting anything, even if it's a passion of ours. So what this quote tells me is that mistakes are normal, mistakes are natural, and they, in actuality, should be something that we learn how to embrace and something we kind of look forward to, because at the end of the day, with each mistake that we make and with each failure that we have, it brings us one step closer to our dream, to our goal, one step closer to personal growth. And it gives us something to look back on, to review, and to help us change direction and change the course into the direction that we want to go. So on that note, remember, making mistakes is perfectly fine. It doesn't make you lesser than, it just makes you stronger. Remember, you are loved, you are worth it, and we are here for you. See you next week. Goodbye.